Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to Law You Should Know. Today we're going to discuss ageism and the law, and our guest is Alice Fisher. She is the president and founder of the Radical Age Movement, and in the next few minutes we'll find out more about what that is about and some events they're holding of interest to everyone. Alice, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Thank you for having me.
And why you're advocating for rights and fairness for people who may be a little bit older, who can have value contributions to offer the workforce. Tell us about the scope of age discrimination and why it's so important to everyone.
Okay. Well, before I founded the Radical Age Movement, which, as you said, we're just in our third year, I worked for a New York State senator, and one of the hats that I wore in that office was to be the government liaison to everybody over 65 in our district. And every day I was impacted by people with problems that were so huge and so great, and some of them were really intractable, like I couldn't even help them. But even when I could, it was very upsetting, and so I questioned myself about why are these people having all these problems. And every time I thought about it, my social work and community organizing background, it came back to age prejudice.
And so explain what age prejudice is.
Okay. So we see it, and it's around us every day, all right? When you go, we can take one category after another. Jobs, in the job market, the workforce, age prejudice is rampant. And when I say age in the workforce, you don't have to be what I would consider old. People over 50. If you lose your job and you are 50 years old, for women it could be even in your 40s, it is almost impossible to get another job. And the older you get, the harder it is. So somebody that's is 55 and loses their job and can't get another job, they're not even eligible for any benefits yet.
And they, especially the health care is concerned, housing is concerned.
Right.
And of course, the prejudice is because people assume they're stupid, they don't have the high-tech skills, they can't be trained, they're slow, they won't get along.
Yes, all of that. Plus, people think we're not going to be here. They think that they are not aware of the huge change in demographics, that people are living longer, but those extra years are not added on to the very end of our life. What's happened is we have opened a new stage of life along the lifespan, and that is people approximately between 60 and 80 who are relatively healthy. Not only are they not ready to, quote, retire, but most of us can't afford to. Who can be retired for 30 or 40 years?
So let's contrast some of those notions out there. People 60 to 80 are usually mentally and physically healthy. They're motivated to work hard, and they have a lot of life experience to offer.
Right. However,
yes,
the climate out there is corporations want to have a young face. They want to hire only young people, and we get messages all the time through the media that says that old is bad and young is good. And those messages actually not only affect older adults, but they affect young adults also.
And so you're trying to say that young is good, but old is better?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one.
And also 60 is the new 40, 70 is the new 50. People are active, and they're also consumers. And a customer, might, a person has sales skills, if they have customer service, if they're an engineer, if they're a lawyer, if they're an accountant, those skills don't evaporate when they turn 60 or 65. If they're a good administrator or a good secretary or a good therapist, their skills probably have gotten better with age.
Right. And so what we say isn't that we don't like to say, 70 is the new 50. What we like to say is 70 is the new 70.
And certainly they should be given a chance to qualify. They should be considered. They shouldn't be excluded just because of a number. Right.
And the older people get, our society, the more marginalized they become.
So it becomes a slippery slope. They lose a job. So it's important, not to put them out to pasture. And again, sometimes it's illegal to discriminate in hiring or firing an older person, and that can, have serious and real consequences to the employer. But to use that skills to harness that energy.
Right. Well, as far as age discrimination and the law go, unfortunately, it is very, very difficult to win an age discrimination lawsuit.
Well, it might be
employer, employee. I mean.
Well, it might be. Sometimes there are patterns out there. I've heard testers are sometimes used, like in housing. So, depending on the particular facts, but people may have rights and they should exercise them. There are government agencies that might investigate the complaints at no charge.
Right.
They should be, careful about the facts, and maybe they set up, maybe they were replaced by a younger person. It's hard to know.
Right.
But just as there's been discrimination against sex or against ethnicity, against other things, older workers have rights too.
Right. So actually what happens is that these companies have figured out how to skirt the law. Nobody's going to tell you that you're being fired or you can't be hired because you're too old. They will sometimes. I have read cases where they shut down and they close the entire department, so therefore your job doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Or just different ways of pushing. They will, while you're in the workforce and working, you get asked constantly, so when are you going to retire? Well, I'm not planning on retiring yet.
And maybe you should make notes of those conversations so that you can try to show it was a setup or a pattern.
Well, that's one of the things that they say is to keep notes on, any kind of harassment you feel is happening because of your age.
And even if it's a subtle discrimination.
Right.
I know in your materials you mentioned that there are also other aspects of it, let's say in the media, healthcare,
so
government.
One of the things you'll notice, there's two things about the media, is that the definition of old keeps getting, the number keeps getting lower and lower. So you read an article in the newspaper and it'll say, old man 62 hit by bus. And you're thinking, geez, old man. We're living into our 90s easily now. And future generations are probably going to live longer. And it's not that we're just living longer, but statistically, we're staying healthier longer.
And interestingly enough, I do tort law and accident cases, and and the period of shortening a life or shortening a work life, the courts have actuarial tables that they will accept. So like you mentioned, 60's then not so old, and the actual actuarial tables may show, and the judge will have to accept it as proof that if you've reached 60, you might have another 20 or 30 years. If you've reached 70, you might have another 20 years. If you reached 80, you might have another 15 years. And there are similar tables for work life. So if you're working at 60, they've amassed statistics to show that you could still be a productive member of the workforce for X number of years. Right.
And also, by eliminating older people, you're getting rid of the people that have the historic knowledge of your company or business. You're getting rid of really mentors that can help younger employees learn about different things. You know, we all people as we age, we are the most diverse when the older we get, because we've all lived different lives. And we have so much to offer.
And also, older people, experienced people, mature people may offer wisdom. They may offer a good attitude. They may not be so easily distracted. They may not have other things on their time. They may just put everything in to make sure that job works for you, to do a good job.
So the other thing is the advertising that we see in the media. I have an ad that I use in my presentation that shows 3 old ladies sitting on a bench, and they each have a pocketbook on their laps. The ad is for the pocketbooks, but the line says, "See any old bags lately?" That is such an ageist ad. All right? And we see and hear things all the time. You know, sometimes somebody will come up to me who is, 70 or 80 or more and say, gee, I've never experienced ageism. And the first question I asked them, I said, oh, so you must be really thrilled with your Social Security check. And they stopped for a minute. I said, that's ageism. That's ageism. When a municipality has to cut their budget, it doesn't matter whether the people in power are conservative or progressive. The very first thing they go for is senior services. Here in New York City, older adults are just about 20% of the population. So that means 1 out of every 5 people walking around is over 65. But we only get less than 1% of the HR budget of New York City.
Okay, I just want to cut you off. We have to take a short break now.
Okay.
When we return, we'll continue our discussion of ageism and what's behind your radical age movement, and also the upcoming events you have to campaign on that issue. You're listening to Law You Should Know here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, and also over the internet at ncc.edu/WHPC. We'll be back in a moment.
This program is brought to you by Nassau Community College, which offers a paralegal studies program. Students can major in paralegal studies while earning their associate's degree, or earn a paralegal certificate if they already have a college degree. These programs can even help you start a second career as a paralegal. It's a program for anyone who wants to work in a law office assisting lawyers, the government, or a position in an insurance company. More information about full-time, part-time, days, evenings, weekends, or online courses is available by calling 516-572-7774 or by email at paralegal@ncc.edu.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denise, Corker, and Sauer, here is attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Welcome back. This is Ken Landau. We're talking to Alice Fisher. She's the president and founder of the Radical Age Movement. Before we continue our discussion with you, I just want to mention that Paralegal is a great field for anyone who needs a second career, and people can put their life experience to use in that field. And one of the valuable fields paralegals work in is elder law, helping older people of any age